Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to start our social histories class with histories chapter number 3rd, the Delhi Sultanate. Dear students, we already began this chapter in last class and we already discussed about two dynasties, the Slav dynasty and Khalji dynasty. Now we will talk about next one, the Tughlaq dynasty. As you know that many type of successor came to India and expand their kingdom in north, south and all over the India, and they want to become a worldwide ruler, and they have to just prove that there is a most important ruler like a Mongol invasion, and many type of invasion is also take place. Because of that they want to prove that they are more powerful. After Khalji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty was going to start. Ghazi Malik put an end of Khalji dynasty. We already know that Hussain Malik, or we can say that Ghazi Malik, was a person who ended Khalji dynasty. He took the title of Ghayasuddin Tughlaq, and we can say that the Tughlaq is known as Ghayasuddin Tughlaq. Because of that he make a title of his unique name. The Tughlaq dynasty ruled for about 100 years. We can say that Tughlaq ruled nearby 100 years. Ghayasuddin Tughlaq ruled from 1320 to 1325, means nearby 5 years he ruled. The first ruler of this dynasty was Ghayasuddin. He put down rebellions and strengthened the Sultanate. He was succeeded by his son Jona Khan. Means we can say that after his death, his son was successor of him, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. 1325 to 1351, we can say that nearby 25 or 26 years he ruled. Ghayasuddin Tughlaq's son Jona Khan took the title of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Jona Khan and Muhammad bin Tughlaq both are same person only. Jona Khan make a title of his name as Muhammad bin Tughlaq. In 1325 and extended his throne. Ibn Battuta gives a lot of information about his reign. He was a famous ruler of that time, but because of some problems he was not able to conducting proper policies, and policies was going to fail, and because of that his ruling is also going to finish nearby 25 or 26 years. He tells us that Sultan had great ideas and plans that failed because common people could not understand that. If you are going to explaining anything else but common people couldn't understand that type of thing, then you will not be getting succeed in that type of thing. So because of that you have to explain your idea, explain your body in correct way, then they will can understand. Taxation in the Doab. Doab is a region, D-O-A-B. Doab is a region, fertile region nearby rivers like Yamuna, Ganga, Satluj. Many type of rivers were there on that time. Nearby that river, that area is known as Doab river, and on that time, taxation on the land, on the fertility of the soil, how much production your land is giving, according to that you have to give tax to ruler. In order to get more money for his military expeditions, the Sultan raised the land tax in the Doab region. However, the king's timing was not good. The Doab was facing a severe famine during this period. To raise the tax at such a time was a mistake. Your complete kingdom was facing a famine like drought or anything else, that type of conditions, and you are going to increasing in tax, then we couldn't say that it is a correct decision or a good decision by a king. So it was a mistake. Many peasants abandoned their land, some of them revolted. Finally the Sultan had to revoke his order, because many is going to revolting about taxing. How can you raising your tax on the land when complete kingdom is facing droughts or famine? Transfer of capital. In 1327, Muhammad bin Tughlaq decided to transfer his capital from Delhi to Delhi. In 1327, Mongols start to capturing Delhi Sultanate. Then he knew that he is not safe at that place, so he is going to transfer capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, or we can say that Devgiri, which was rechristened by Daulatabad, the house of prosperity. Most historians believe that there were two reasons for it. Why he transferred his capital? Two reasons were there. the Sultan felt that he would be able to control the administer the empire better from Daulatabad since it was located in the center of his empire. Daulatabad was a place whichever in the center of his kingdom, so we can say that it is a great extent for him. The Mongols were a constant threat to Delhi. Daulatabad would be safe from Mongol attacks. According to Mongolotics, we can say that Daulatabad was safe at that place. Muhammad bin Tughlaq ordered the entire population of Delhi to move to Daulatabad. And on that time, Muhammad bin Tughlaq make a commitment, all of you have to move to Delhi to Daulatabad. People did not want to leave their homes, but they had to obey the king's orders. No one want to leave their house, but they have to obey the king's order. Because of that, they left their home and start to move for Daulatabad. However, the king soon realized that it was impossible to keep a watch on northern frontiers from Daulatabad. When he reached at Daulatabad, then he is facing like that, he couldn't make an eye on northern part, so he is thinking like that it's not a good place, we have to again move to Delhi. So he ordered a receipt to the capital. All the people who had gone to Daulatabad were asked to move back to Delhi. Some are not reached at Daulatabad, and in the way only they also again start to move Daulatabad to Delhi, and it was also his big mistake. Because of that, many people facing many type of problems. They have lost their home, they have lost their property, many type of things. Introduction of a token currency. We can say that in Indian history, we can say that once a person, only a person who started token currency. In 1329, Muhammad bin Tughlaq took another wrong decision of introducing token currency. There was a shortage of silver during this period. On that time, silver was in the salt, so the Sultan decided to mint coins of brass and copper for day-to-day use. So he think like that we can make a brass or copper coin for day-by-day use, so they can use as a exchanging. These coins had the same value as pure silver coins, and brass and copper coins value was similar as silver. Like silver rate is 67,000 rupees 1 kg, then silver brass and copper coins also on the same value. These coins had the same value for as pure silver coins. Further, they could be exchanged for silver coins at any time from the royal treasury. And if you have copper coin or brass coin, and if you want silver coin, then you can make exchange with the treasury. Muhammad, however, failed to check the illegal minting of coins, and on that time, people start to mint coins at their home only. Because the brass and copper is available everywhere, and people start to minting coin at their home only. The design of the coins was simple enough for ordinary crafts people to copy, as brass and copper were easily available and much cheaper than silver. People brought brass and copper in bulk and started minting coins at home. They start to minting coins at home only. Delhi, a person is start to minting coin. No one is involving in any type of the another work. They start to minting coins only. Like they are start to minting copper coin, brass coin, because they know that it is a great business for making money. They have to exchange that brass or copper coin with silver coin. The kingdom was flooded with false coins. Means in a short period of time there was many coins, and we can say that heap of coins was there. How can they make? They also don't understand. Money lost its value, trade suffered as foreign merchants refused to accept these coins, and finally a time came to end. Foreign travelers, foreign traders denied to accepting that brass and copper coin. The Sultan had to give on silver coins in exchange of even forged coins. The treasury thus became empty. The experiment was soon withdrawn. Barani wrote that heaps of bronze coin rose like mountains near Tughlaqabad. Tughlaqabad is extended, we can say that, by the Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and outside of this kingdom or outside of this place, heap of a mountain of a brass and copper coin was seen there by Al-Biruni. Karachi expedition to secure the northern frontiers of the Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq sent an army to Kangra region. Kangra region is situated in Himachal Pradesh. After annexing this region, the army proceeded towards Tibet. It suffered heavy casualties. In Karachi expeditions also he faced many type of problems. He lost many of the soldiers and many money loss also he had to make that place. Khursan expedition. To expand the empire, Muhammad bin Tughlaq decided to conquer Khorasan in Central Asia. He raised a large army and spent a lot of money on weapons, other war supplies. The soldiers were also given 1 year's salary in advance as an incentive. He was the first ruler who gave 1 year's salary in advance to soldiers for joining his army. However, the expedition was withdrawn because of the difficulties the army would face in an allied land. The soldiers so retreated were disbanded. Wrong decisions taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq made him very unpopular. He lost the trust of his nobles, the ulema, and the people of his empire. The Sultan was unable to control his empire effectively. Revolts broke out in Bengal, Gujarat, Warangal, and other places. Because of his one by one, he is start to making wrong decisions, and because of that, revolting is going to start from one state, like at first in Bengal, after the Gujarat, Warangal, and other places. Two powerful regional kingdoms, Vijayanagar and Bahmani, came up in south and the Deccan, respectively. It's about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. After that, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq came to rule. As Muhammad bin Tughlaq had no son, his cousin Firoz Shah succeeded him. He wanted the support of the nobles and the ulema so that they would allow him to rule peacefully. Thus, he then bigger iqtas which were made hereditary. So, upon the death of a noble, his iqta would pass on to his son. To please the ulema, he ruled according to Islamic laws. He didn't follow the ulema rule, he followed Islamic rules. If any king or any ruler had a son, then that complete right is going to another one, his family's member. He ruled according to Islamic laws. As a result, the nobles and ulema grew very powerful and began to influence the Sultan in day-to-day administration. Firoz Shah is known as the reformer because of his many successful reforms. He built many canals, tanks, wells, hospitals, and rest houses. He founded new towns. New towns also founded by him like Jaunpur, Firozpur, Firozabad, Hisar, Firoza. He set up many educational institutions and also had many Sanskrit works translated into Persian and Arabic. Many Sanskrit works is also translated in Persian and Arabic. After the death of Firoz Shah, the empire broke up. Many regions became independent. Soon the Sultanate was reduced to Delhi and surrounding areas. After Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Timur's invasion is going to take place in 1398. The Mongol ruler Timur was the ruler of a large empire in Central Asia. Means he want to extend his rule, his empire in whole over the Asia. He invaded India and attacked the loot the Delhi. His army massacred thousands of people. With the loot he collected, he beautified his capital Samarkand with elegant buildings, palaces, and mosques. Before leaving Delhi, Timur appointed Khizr Khan. Before leaving Delhi, Timur appointed Khizr Khan as a dictator in India. Khizr Khan became the first Sayyid ruler. We can say that with Khizr Khan, Sayyid dynasty start to rule in our India. After that, Tughlaq dynasty case study is also given about the Sultan, the court, nobility, general administration. All that thing is mentioned here. Now we will talk about the Sayyid dynasty. The Sayyid dynasty emerged after the end of the Tughlaq dynasty. Means after the finishing of Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid dynasty is start to rule. They ruled for only a short period of time. First ruler was Khizr Khan Sayyid, who succeeded by Timur. From 1414 to 1421, we can say that nearby 6 or 7 years, Khizr Khan was the governor of Multan under Firoz Shah Tughlaq. After the death of Firoz, he supported a son Firoz in the war of succession. When Timur attacked India, he joined him. Before leaving India, Timur appointed him governor of Multan, Lahore and Dipalpur. He appointed a governor at three places, Multan, Lahore and Dipalpur. Khizr Khan conquered Delhi in 1414 and started the rule of the Sayyidis. After Khizr Khan Sayyid, Mubarak Shah Sayyid came to rule from 1421 to 1434. Khizr Khan was succeeded by his son. After Khizr Khan's death, his son Mubarak Shah started to rule. He had a great visionary power and he wanted to revive the glory of his father. The nobles, however, were against him. Most of his time was spent in controlling him. Most of his time was wasted in controlling him only. After that, Muhammad Shah Sayyid from 1434 to 1443. Muhammad Shah was Mubarak Shah's nephew. The noble became very powerful during his reign. After that, Alauddin Shah Sayyid 1443 to 1451. Alam Shah was the next ruler. In 1451 he lost Delhi to Belo Lodi, and with this Lodi dynasty start to rule. The Lodi dynasty was last ruling dynasty of the Sultanate period. We can say that with Lodi dynasty, Sultanate period is going to be end. Until this period, all the rulers of the Sultanate were of Turkish origin, while the Lodis were of Afghan origin. Lodis were of the Afghan origin. First ruler of Lodi dynasty, or we can say that main ruler of the Lodi dynasty was Behlol Lodi. He tried to consolidate the fragmented Sultanate. He removed rebellious governors and appointed loyal Afghan. He removed all the officials and appointed only loyal Afghan in their places. And at the time of his death, the Sultanate stretched from Punjab to Bihar. After that, Sikandar Lodi, 1489 to 1570, Behlol Lodi was succeeded by his son Sikandar Lodi. He annexed the Jaunpur and Bihar and signed a treaty of friendship with the ruler of Bengal. He also introduced many public welfare measures. For example, like Alauddin Khilji, he tried to lower the prices of all essential items like Alauddin Khilji. He also gave loans to farmers. He founded the city of Agra and made his capital. After that, Ibrahim Lodi succeeded Sikandar Lodi. After Sikandar Lodi, Ibrahim Lodi came to rule. He was the last ruler of the Lodi dynasty, and the Afghan nobles rebelled against him. He, however, defeated them to prevent such revolts in future. He replaced the senior nobles and governors who had a lot of power by younger men. The displaced nobles conspired with Babur, who overthrew Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat in 1526. Babur was the first ruler of Mughal dynasty. Dear students, it's about all the dynasties, and I hope you understand this chapter. If you have any type of doubt regarding this chapter, then surely you can ask to Google Meet class. In next class, we will start next chapter. Thank you so much.